She was probably about 10 months old when she started having these little episodes. You know, I'd get her up from her nap, I'd put her on the floor to play, and she'd get up like on her hands and knees like she was gonna crawl, and she just kind of collapse. And then she'd be like really struggling, trying to get back up again. And I'm just like, kind of the big alarm was one day her dad was fixing her lunch, or fixing the girls' lunch. I was at work, and Lindsay was sitting on the floor in the kitchen, and he heard a noise, and he looked down, and she was in a grand mal seizure. We went right over to one of the hospitals in town, and they did a CT scan. They had never really seen anything like this in an infant before, and I could tell from his tone of voice that it was something bad. And he said, Jan, he said, something showed up on Lindsay's brain. He said, it looks like she has a brain tumor. It's just one of those things that you as a parent think you're never ever gonna hear.
At 13 months old, I had my first brain surgery to remove part of it, but because I was so young and because technology was lacking, at the time they couldn't remove all of it without leaving me fully paralyzed for the rest of my life. So they decided to wait until 1997, 10 years later.
The logic was, I think, to try and bide time until the mapping and localization technology improved. Referred by Mayo Clinic to Children's Memorial and to Dr. Tamita. It was discovered that she actually had a cyst on her dura mater, one of the coverings of the brain. In the intervening 10 years, the mapping and localization technology had improved to a point where they could remove the remainder of it. So when she was 11 years old, Dr. Tamita at Children's Memorial performed surgery to remove the cyst and also to remove the remaining portion of the tumor. He was able to remove 100% of the tumor.
After the surgery, I was in the hospital for 10 days or so, and then I was released. I was able to start the school year on time and just to jump back into the swing of things. A few years later, I was able to come off my anti-seizure medication. I was off medicine completely, but then I was having recurring headaches. I was suffering from a condition called RSD. RSD stands for reflex sympathetic dystrophy, and basically means that my nerves, because I've had 2 brain surgeries, are stimulated to feel a larger amount of pain than somebody else would.
Imagine having a migraine, and certain people have migraines, and for me, for instance, if I have a migraine, the only way I can get rid of that thing is to fall asleep, and just the blood vessels relax, and the next morning my head's cloudy and everything, but it's away. Imagine having that pain for 3 years.
She went to the Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago for a 4-week intensive treatment program. The health club where Josh worked was renting space from in the same building.
Part of the program was to exercise, so she's walking back and forth all the time. The relaxation classes that they had were up in one of our group exercise studios. And here was this beautiful girl. It was like, oh my gosh. And so getting to talk to her and realizing everything she had been through, I didn't treat her any differently than I would anybody else. It's just like, oh, okay, if you've dealt with a lot in your life, I respect that and I want to know more.
And eventually he asked me to go out with him.
She almost said no, I should point out too. She almost said no.
Mm-hmm. And she thought he was really nice, and that's how it sort of happened. I don't know if it's true or not, but I like that story, and that's when I tell people.
3 weeks or so that we knew each other, we were inseparable. Mm-hmm. At the end of your time with the clinic, I remember we sat down and we talked, like, okay, where do we go from here?
Josh started, coming down to our house every weekend.
For me, it was a no-brainer. I knew what I had, and when you feel that, it's something like you've never felt before, so there's just something in my head that says, go. I drove to Indiana every single weekend.
He just became part of the family.
Started out like a guest, but after a while, you're just family. Just a guy that comes in on Fridays and
But it seemed to me that she was just aglow and she was excited, and it's like she had a whole new lease on life as a result of meeting Josh.
So many different people had touched her life that I only thought it was natural to have all of them in on, you know, the proposal. And so my brother and I came up with this whole elaborate plan that, you know, we were going to go to the Lincoln Park Zoo just because we had gone there our first date, first anniversary, second anniversary. And while we were there, all of her family and my family were literally going to stand at the exit to the butterfly exhibit. And I was going to have her back turned, so when everybody came in the entrance, she wouldn't be able to see them, but they would see me. And from there, you know, I went down on my knee, told her some stuff, and you know, I let her know that she's been an inspiration to so many different people, and you know, most of those people are standing behind you.
So Jesse, the one little boy I nanny for, I took him to Oz Park one day. We were sitting there having a picnic for lunch, and I noticed somebody else sitting at the same picnic table had a children's name tag on. And I was like, I wonder if they would entertain the idea of having a wedding in their courtyard.
She called me at work and said, Mom, she said, I have Jesse at a park over near Children's. I just kind of been sitting there as he's playing and, you know, looking at the hospital and just thinking back about, you know, life and, you know, the impact Children's has had on me. And she said, what do you think about having the wedding in the courtyard? I said, honey, what an incredible idea. And I love that idea.
What her family's gone through after her surgery to where she is now, to give the other families the hope that, you know, a success story like hers can happen to them is really where the idea of Children's came from.
She wants to really be an encouragement to the brain tumor patients that are here, that are able to come and be a part of the wedding. Josh and her want to be able to, hoping to be able to spend some time with them and just say, you know what, I've been where you're at.
I feel like there's a lot of kids out there who kind of feel the same way, who, you know, kind of feel like an ugly duckling, you know, like I did a lot when I was little, who may feel ostracized by their peers and just don't feel quite as beautiful as they should. And I just want them to really be able to see that, you know, just because you're in this situation today doesn't mean tomorrow you will be. You know, it
can get better.
Right. Good things can come from your struggles today.